So today, as well as hearing from Tom Watson and Len McCluskey about how we're going to fight back, I wanted you to hear from two very important people, Harry Leslie Smith and Gill Thompson. They come from opposite ends of the welfare state, looking down the barrel of history at one another. Harry is 91. He was born before the welfare state. In 1926, his 10-year-old sister Marion died because his family could not afford a doctor. Gill is 57. Her generation inherited the welfare state that Harry's generation built. But 70 years on, this Tory-led government has destroyed that safety net. So now, like Harry lost his sister, Gill has lost her brother.
I came into the world before the welfare state, and life was a hard go for the majority of people in this country. It was luck and guile that kept you alive, and my mum and dad didn't have much of either. So it didn't take much for us to tumble into destitution. For us, the big push to the curb was when my eldest sister Marion contracted tuberculosis. Back then, there was no NHS, and my parents acquired debt in their attempt to save my sister's life. Unfortunately, it was a noble but futile struggle, and she died a horrible and pitiable death in the workhouse. At the innocent age of 10, we were so poor that we couldn't afford to bury her, so my sister was dumped into a common grave with other indigents from my community. My family's plunge from bare working class subsistence to utter poverty is tragic, but I also think it is criminal, because the sad life of me, my parents and my sisters isn't a unique tale, but something that happened to millions of families across Britain in the 1920s and 30s.
He was a very quiet and private person. He had type 1 diabetes, and he missed one appointment, and because of that he was sanctioned. He never told me. He never told anyone. He was found dead in his flat. He had 6 tea bags, a tin of out-of-date pilchards, and a tin of soup. He had no electric on his key. The post-mortem said that he had no food in his stomach. He died alone, destitute and penniless. He wasn't a scrounger. He'd worked for 29 years of his life. He spent 5 years in the army, 3 years in Germany, and 2 years in Northern Ireland in the height of the 70s. 2424567, Lance Corporal Claps, DG.
And you know, I represent West Bromwich, where 1 in 3 workers, 1 in 3 people now in work, earn below the living wage. They work hard, they work longer hours than most people in London, longer average hours. But at the end of the month, they still can't pay for rent and food, and they need the state to top that up. How can that be? How can that be that we have allowed a situation like that to happen? And you know, I visited the food bank in West Bromwich, and I saw the mums, some of them with the kids, queuing for free food to feed their kids at the weekend. And it reminded me of when I was a kid under Thatcher, and the kids at school who got the free school meals had little purple plastic rings, and they had to queue in a separate queue for school dinners, and they got their dinners after everyone else that paid got their dinner. That was the school I went to, and I've never forgotten it. And I thought to myself, those kids will never ever forget having to queue for food with their mums. It's a searing indignity, one that Labour should put right. And the central challenge for Ed this week and as we go into the next general election is to respond to the challenge of Harry and Gill, to bring back the idea that the empowering state can change lives. And if he does that, I have every confidence we will see Cameron and this rotten coalition off next May. Thank you.
That's why we have to stand and fight. This particular fringe is entitled Putting People Back into Politics, and Tom's just touched upon what happened in Scotland. Wasn't it fantastic? An incredible energy of ordinary working people. Whether they voted yes or no doesn't matter. They engaged in politics because they felt that their voice would make a difference. They debated things in the pubs, in their homes, in their workplaces, constantly, day out, day in. We've told, remember, that young people aren't interested in politics. Well, get up to Scotland and have a look at the young people there. We're told that there's no working class anymore, really? Get up to Scotland and the rest of Britain and find working people who are looking for a voice. And that's our role in a political party, members of the Labour Party, in order to try and present a different type of policy and alternative to the British electorate. Tom says that if Ed seizes that opportunity, and I believe he will, then we will take to the British people an alternative programme that does offer hope, and that he will be the next Prime Minister next May.
A generation lost its innocence and its hope during the dirty 30s. Today, austerity is just as cruel and criminal as in my youth, and it will get worse unless we fight those who want to see Britain return to those black days of 1930. We must always be vigilant against those who believe that only rich, only the privileged and only the well-connected deserve proper health care, job protection and higher education. Every citizen in this country, regardless of their background, their position in society, have the fundamental right to an education, decent housing, fair working conditions and a decent pension. But it is also important that every one of us in this country understands that they have an obligation to assist and defend those who are less fortunate than themselves, to ensure that they are not left behind or cheated out of their right to a decent standard of living. Thank you.